Okay. Hey, gang. Patrick King here, coming to you live from Misty Oak Farm in Stanton, Virginia. Excuse the little hiccup there starting out. We've got some new technology we're trying to play with, so hopefully you can hear me well. So give us a thumbs up or a comment in the comment section if you can hear this audio well. Anyway, so for today's question, Pam sends in a message to us and asks, do you think you could talk about starting a horse on the side pass or the leg yield? I just seem to totally lack the ability to do that. So I think that's a great question, and it's one that I see a lot of riders kind of struggling with a little bit for, I think, the understanding part on the horse's case as well as on their own case. So when we get started with this, I want to start off on the ground to begin with, just to make sure that we've got some maneuverability through our horse before we get started with this. So I'm going to use the assistance of a dressage whip here. We've got, like, I've got my Rommel reins here. We could use the quirt if we wanted to. We could use, oftentimes I use a bamboo stick, or many of you may have seen my long, I call it the magic wand, a big telescopic pole. You can use basically anything. This is just going to help kind of create a barrier for the horse and help the horse to learn how to yield off of that. So I'm going to start out asking Bunny here to yield her body sideways from the ground. I might be up here on the headstall to support her if necessary, and I'm just going to bring this stick out here, and I want her to move sideways some. Now, the way that she moved right there was a little bit lacking in the hindquarters, and that's probably what your horse is going to do the first time you ask for that also. So I'm going to ask again, and I'm going to reach out and tickle her hind leg to see if I can get a little bit more movement from her there. So when that leg is ready to lift, I'm going to touch it, asking her to step a little more. And you see we get a little more effort. We get a little bit more effort in the sideways move right there. Okay, so we'll ask for that again. And you notice for the most part at this point, I'm letting her more or less kind of pivot around me. Once she's got that idea, then I'll start to more carry myself forward as if I'm going to walk kind of right through her eye in this case. And you can see we get some of that sideways action going on. All right, now a common thing that we see a lot of riders doing is working really hard to get this done, either when they're on the ground or when they're on their horse. It's really important to not work too hard. Don't get desperate with your aids. If I have to tap maybe a little firmer there with the whip, I might do that, but the moment she gets the idea or she gets the feel in her body that she's going to put up a good effort, then I'm going to get slack or soft with my whip. I want her to learn to move with a softness, not with a real hard pushing. The same is going to apply when we start to ride. I want to get the feel that she's getting ready to move over, and that's what I'm going to reward. So I'll try to show you that again so you can see. I'm going to get ready here, and I'm going to bring my stick up here, and about the time, if she's ignoring here, I might tap there. About the time the body gets prepared to move sideways, that's when I'm going to release my stick, and I might pet on her, let her know that's the right idea. I don't want to continue chasing a horse that's already trying. So I'll bring this up here. You can see right there, as I lift the stick, she starts to put up the effort of moving sideways, and that's exactly what we want. Good. So I'm over here in the field next to the log here so that she can help me climb on. So we'll climb on here. Come on, sweetheart. Now the same is going to hold true when we're in the saddle. I want to make sure that I've got all of my horse's parts isolated. So even here as I mount, you see I reach my leg back and I'm just going to touch. I'm not going to push. I'm not going to get desperate. I'm not going to, kick on the side of my horse to get her to move herself over. She understands what the aid there of the leg means. If when you're starting out, if your horse is a little bit unsure of that idea, that's where the whip can come in. I'd reach back here with my leg, and if she's not understanding, rather than get harder with my leg, I'm going to tap with the whip. I'll do the same thing over here on the right side. I think about moving the hindquarters from right to left. Now we think about moving the hindquarters from left to right. That needs to be soft. Don't get desperate with your aids. Resist the temptation to push or to add more leg, more leg, more leg. Eventually you're going to run out of leg, and if your horse hasn't understood yet what you want, well, now you're just out of luck. So then I want to also make sure that I can bring my horse softly backwards. I want to rein back pretty softly, okay? You can see I close the barrier here, the front door, so to speak, by closing on the reins, and I'm going to shift my seat slightly backwards and add a little bit of leg. I shouldn't be having to pull my horse backwards either. It's another challenge that we see. Again, just like the sideways idea, I'm going to try to wait until the body gets the message, especially the first time. I'll see if I can get her ready to back up, and then I might release everything. I get ready, and I release everything. Eventually then, you can start to add that leg and carry some steps and even some more effort into that rein back as you go. So we've got her moving her hindquarters. We've got her moving backwards off of the rein and seat aids. I want to make sure also that I can move the front of my horse pretty softly, and I'd be doing this basically the same way whether I was in the snaffle or here in this bridle. If you're riding your dressage horses, even in the full bridle or the double bridle, I'd be riding it the same way. I'm not going to be pulling my reins big and open, taking myself out of position. You notice how I try to stay fairly square and upright in my position. Think about my center of gravity in relation to hers. If I want her to go sideways over here, and I come off over here to push her, well, now we're totally separated, right? We're a little bit maybe top heavy in this case for where my balance is going. I want to think about where I want her to head, and I'm going to prepare my body to go there, but I'm not going to go without her. The idea is we're riding a horse. We're not carrying a horse, right? So when I want to start to incorporate the leg yield, I'm going to get some forward motion here. I'm going to make a circle back here and ride towards you again, so then you'll be able to see what we've got going on here. Again, at this point, I would still have my whip handy in case I needed to support my leg, because I refuse to get desperate with my legs. As I come up here towards you, I'm going to think about adding a little bit of my right leg, closing a little bit the front door, and carrying my center of gravity out here to the side. You can see I'm not pushing with my leg. I'm not pulling across with my reins. I'm supporting a little in both of those places. I'm basically saying the front door is more or less closed, the right door is more or less closed, but this door over here is plenty open. When you have a horse that's maybe struggling to find that, we would ask for this, and the moment that they start to think sideways, we can rest everything. We can offer a big release. Straight onto the camera here, you'll see. We get a little effort, I'll give a big release. I'm exaggerating right now so that you can understand, right? A little sideways effort, a big release. As we get farther along, as the horse gets more sure, we can start to do these things and ask one step at a time for them to come across. And we don't have to necessarily release those big releases. If you watch my leg, I can say, please, thank you, please, thank you, please, thank you, by touching, not by kicking or pushing or getting desperate with the aids. And again, I've got the whip here. I would tickle just behind my leg if necessary to help her understand that. So the biggest piece that I want everybody to take away from this idea is don't get desperate with your aids. It's not necessarily about getting the big steps sideways, especially when you're first starting to teach your horse this. It's about getting the effort. Reward the effort. Big releases on the effort to start with until your horse gets confident. And then you can ask specifically for 1 step and 2 steps and 3 steps. And always let your horse feel successful. I'm going to ride her over here once more, and I can show you a little bit, maybe from the back angle. We'll think about leg yielding right to left, thinking please, thank you, please, thank you, please, thank you. And now left to right, please, thank you. If I have to help a little with the whip, you can see how that'll come in there and offer support. If your horse gets to rushing or pushing too much forward when you're doing these things, you might close the reins and think about riding a rein back. Again, not pulling backwards, simply setting the horse up so that they understand that that front door is closed. Leg yield is, to me, one of the most important exercises that we can teach to our horse. It's a great way to help soften your horse's body. It's a great way to help introduce a change of bend, things like that. Leg yield is probably one of those things that I do maybe almost more than anything else. I make the joke oftentimes in clinics, if you have 30 minutes to ride and you don't ride 47 leg yields, you were probably just being lazy. So hopefully this gives you guys some tips and ideas on how you can help your horse with learning the leg yield. Don't forget, if you want to keep on sending in questions, we're going to keep making videos like this. If this was helpful to you, or if you have a friend that you think might benefit from this advice, please tag them in the comment section below the video here. You keep asking questions, I'll keep talking about horses. Thanks, gang.